Part 1 and the message that changed everything. The year was 2184, and humanity had finally reached beyond their home system. Captain Sarah. Chen stood in the observation deck of the research vessel Horizon's Edge, watching the swirling colors of the Kepler nebula paint the darkness with impossible beauty. She was 42 years old, with short black hair and eyes that reflected the stars she had spent her life studying. Behind her, the soft hum of the ship's engines created a constant rhythm that had become like breathing to her crew. The Horizon's Edge was not a warship. It carried no heavy weapons, no battalions of soldiers. It was a simple exploration vessel, designed to map new star systems and search for signs of life beyond Earth. Sarah had commanded this ship for 7 years, and in all that time, they had found nothing but empty worlds and silent stars. Sometimes she wondered if humanity was truly alone in the universe. Sometimes she hoped they were. Dr. Marcus Webb worked at his station near the communications array. He was a thin man from London with glasses that constantly slipped down his nose and a mind that never stopped asking questions. For 3 months, he had been monitoring unusual signals from a nearby star system. Most of the crew thought it was just cosmic radiation, natural phenomena that mimicked patterns. Marcus believed otherwise. "Captain," he called out, his voice trembling with excitement. "You need to see this." Sarah crossed the deck quickly, her boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. The crew nearby stopped their work, sensing something important was happening. Marcus pointed at his screen, where a complex pattern of signals scrolled past in waves of color and sound. "What am I looking at?" Sarah asked. Marcus adjusted his glasses and smiled, though his hands were shaking. "It's a message, a deliberate, structured message. Captain, this is not natural. This is artificial. This is communication." The words hung in the air like a physical presence. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then Sarah straightened her spine and made the decision that would change human history forever. "Send a response," she ordered. "Let them know we received their message. Let them know humanity is here." The message went out into the void, traveling at the speed of light toward the distant star system. It carried humanity's first words to an alien species. It carried hope and friendship, and the dreams of every human who had ever looked up at the night sky. The response came faster than anyone expected. Within 6 hours, the alien message returned. Marcus worked frantically to decode it, his fingers flying across his keyboard, while the rest of the crew gathered around. When the translation finally appeared on the screen, the excitement in the room died like a candle in the wind. Sarah read the words 3 times, hoping she had misunderstood. She had not. "We are the collective of United Systems. We have received your message. We have analyzed your technology, your language, your position in the galaxy. You are new to the stars. You are young and inexperienced. For your own protection, you must accept our guidance. You will seize all expansion. You will submit your systems to our administration. You will integrate into our collective as a protectorate species. This is not a request. This is the only path to your survival. We await your compliance." The silence that followed was absolute. Sarah felt her stomach turn cold. This was not the first contact humanity had dreamed of. This was not friendship offered across the stars. This was an ultimatum. This was a threat wrapped in diplomatic language. They want us to surrender, Marcus whispered. They want us to give up our freedom, before we even meet them. Sarah looked around at her crew. These were scientists and explorers, not soldiers. They had come to the stars seeking knowledge, not conflict. But she saw something else in their eyes now. She saw anger. She saw pride. She saw the same fire that had driven humanity from caves to cities to the stars themselves. Send a message to Earth, she said quietly. Priority Alpha. Tell them everything. Tell them we have made first contact. Tell them what the collective demands. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. Tell them that the Horizon's Edge recommends rejection of these terms. We did not come to the stars to kneel. The message reached Earth 3 days later. The United Earth Government assembled in emergency session in their headquarters in Geneva. President James Morrison sat at the head of the council table, a man of 60 years with gray hair, and a face lined by decades of difficult decisions. Around him sat the representatives of every nation on Earth, plus the colonial governors from Mars, Luna, and the stations of Jupiter's moons. We have confirmation. Morrison began, his voice heavy. Alien life exists. They have made contact, and they demand our submission. The room erupted in arguments. Some called for immediate compliance. Better to accept protection than face destruction. Others demanded defiance. Humanity had not fought its way to the stars, only to surrender at the first challenge. Some simply sat in stunned silence, unable to process what was happening. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood to speak. She was Earth's leading expert on theoretical alien contact, though she had never expected to use her knowledge in reality. She was a small woman from Mexico City, with fierce intelligence and a voice that commanded attention. We need to understand what we are dealing with, she said. The collective calls themselves United Systems. That implies multiple species working together. They have the technology to detect us from light, years away, and respond within hours. They speak of protection and guidance, but their tone is that of masters addressing servants. So what do you recommend? Morrison asked. Elena took a deep breath. I recommend we learn more before we decide. We should continue communication. We should try to understand their intentions and their strength. But we should also prepare for the possibility that they will not accept our refusal peacefully. General Thomas Hunt spoke next. He commanded Earth's small, but growing military force, designed originally to protect against pirates and settle disputes between colonies. He was a large man from Texas, with a square jaw and eyes that had seen combat in the resource wars of 2150. Prepare how? He asked. We have maybe 200 warships, if we count every armed vessel in human space. We have no idea how many ships the collective has, but if they control multiple star systems, we can assume it's thousands. We cannot win a military confrontation. Elena nodded. Perhaps not. But we also cannot surrender, without understanding what that surrender means. Are we speaking of administrative oversight or complete subjugation? Will we maintain our autonomy or become slaves? These questions must be answered. Morrison stood, silencing the room with his presence. We will continue communication with the collective. We will seek clarification of their terms. But I will say this clearly now. Humanity did not survive ice ages and plagues and wars just to give up our freedom to strangers in the sky. We will explore every option. We will seek every alternative. And if war comes, we will face it standing on our feet, not kneeling in submission. The decision was made. Earth's response went out the next day. Back on the horizon's edge, Sarah received the message from Earth. She was authorized to continue negotiations. She was authorized to seek clarification. She was authorized to stall for time, while Earth prepared for the worst. She composed her response carefully, spending hours on each word. We appreciate the collective's offer of guidance. However, we require more information before making such a significant decision. What exactly does protectorate status entail? What rights and freedoms would humanity retain? What obligations would we assume? We request a face-to-face meeting to discuss these matters in detail. The response came within a day. Your questions are irrelevant. Protectorate species do not negotiate terms. You will accept our guidance because you have no alternative. However, we recognize your need to understand your situation. A collective delegation will arrive at your location in 14 standard days. Prepare to receive our representatives. Prepare to accept your new reality. Sarah shared the message with her crew. They had 2 weeks before the aliens arrived. 2 weeks to prepare. 2 weeks to decide humanity's future. On Earth, those 2 weeks passed in a frenzy of activity. Every military facility worked around the clock. Scientists studied every piece of data from the alien signals, searching for clues about their technology. Diplomats prepared arguments and counteroffers. Philosophers debated the ethics of submission versus resistance. And ordinary people across the solar system watched and waited, knowing their lives were about to change forever. Marcus spent his time analyzing the alien communication methods. They are advanced, he told Sarah one evening, as they shared coffee in the ship's small galley. Far more advanced than us. Their message traveled faster than it should have been possible. They detected us from an impossible distance. Captain, I think we need to accept that we cannot fight them. Sarah sipped her coffee and looked out the window at the stars. Maybe, she said softly. Or maybe they are used to species that accept defeat without question. Maybe they have never encountered anything like humanity. What makes humanity different? Marcus asked. Sarah smiled, but it was not a happy expression. Every species probably thinks they are special. But humans have something that might be unique. We are stubborn. We are creative. We refuse to accept limitations. When someone tells us something is impossible, we do it anyway. When someone demands our submission, we rebel. It's in our nature. It's who we are. She finished her coffee. The collective will learn this soon enough. The 14 days passed. The horizon's edge waited at the designated coordinates, its sensors scanning constantly for any sign of the approaching aliens. Sarah stood on the bridge, surrounded by her crew. They were all there, everyone who could be spared from their duties. They wanted to witness this moment. They wanted to see the face of the species that demanded humanity's freedom. The ship appeared without warning. One moment the space ahead was empty. The next moment, a vessel materialized as if reality itself had torn open. It was huge, easily 10 times the size of the horizon's edge. Its design was unlike anything in human engineering, all flowing curves and strange angles that seemed to shift when viewed directly. Lights pulsed across its surface in patterns that hurt to watch. Sarah felt her mouth go dry. This was power. This was technology beyond human understanding. This was what they faced. "They are hailing us," Marcus reported, his voice barely above a whisper. Sarah straightened her uniform. She took a deep breath. Whatever happened next would determine the course of human history for generations to come. "Open the channel," she ordered. The screen flickered to life, and humanity saw its first alien face. The price of freedom. The creature on the screen was nothing humanity could have imagined. It stood upright on 2 legs, but its body was covered in scales that shimmered with colors that had no names in human language. Its head was elongated, with 3 eyes arranged in a triangle pattern. When it spoke, its mouth did not move. The words simply appeared in Sarah's mind, translated by technology, so advanced it bypassed normal communication entirely. "I am Coordinator Vexthorl of the Collective's Integration Division. I speak for the Council of United Systems, representing 47 species across 1,200 worlds. You are humanity. You are young. You are inexperienced. You require our guidance to survive." The voice in Sarah's mind was neither male nor female, neither kind nor cruel. It was simply certain, absolutely convinced of its own rightness. Sarah forced herself to meet those 3 alien eyes without flinching. "I am Captain Sarah Chen, representing the United Earth Government and all human settlements. We appreciate your interest in humanity, but we have questions about your proposal." Vexthal's scales shifted colors in a pattern that might have been amusement. Questions are expected from primitive species. Ask. We will provide the minimum information necessary for your compliance. The casual arrogance in those words made Sarah's hands tighten into fists, but she kept her voice calm. What exactly does protectorate status mean? What freedoms would humanity retain? Vexthal's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. You would retain the freedom to exist. The freedom to serve your purpose within the collective. The freedom to evolve under our guidance. These are sufficient freedoms for a species at your developmental level. And what would we lose? Sarah pressed. You would surrender independent expansion. All exploration beyond your current system would require collective authorization. You would surrender military autonomy. All weapons development would be monitored and controlled. You would surrender political independence. Major decisions would require collective approval. You would contribute resources to the collective's greater purposes. 20% of your industrial output would be redirected to collective projects. Marcus gasped beside Sarah. 20% was enormous. That was resources that could feed colonies, build schools, advance science. Gun. Given to aliens who offered nothing but their so-called protection. And if we refuse? Sarah asked, though she dreaded the answer. Vexthal's color shifted again, this time to something that looked like regret. Then you will be classified as a threat to galactic stability. The collective has procedures for dealing with threats. Your worlds will be quarantined. Your ships will be disabled. Your people will be confined to your home planet. Eventually, your species will die out, forgotten by the galaxy. This is not our preference, but it is the inevitable result of your refusal. Sarah felt cold spreading through her chest. This was not protection. This was extortion. Accept our control or face isolation and death. It was a choice that was not really a choice at all. The collective has existed for 87,000 years. Vexthale continued. We have integrated 632 species. Some accepted willingly. Some resisted initially. All are now productive members of our civilization. Your resistance is temporary. Your compliance is inevitable. We have seen this pattern countless times. But you have never seen humanity, Sarah said quietly. Vexthal's colors shifted to something new. Something that might have been curiosity. You believe you are different. Every species believes this initially. What makes humanity special? Sarah thought about her answer carefully. She thought about history classes from her childhood. She thought about the stories of human struggle and triumph that had inspired her to reach for the stars. She thought about what it meant to be human. We are not special because we are stronger, she said. We are not special because we are smarter. We are special because we refuse to accept that might makes right. Throughout our history, humans have faced extinction. We have faced plagues that killed millions. We have faced wars that destroyed civilizations. We have faced challenges that should have ended our species. And every time, we survived. Not because we were the strongest, but because we would not give up. She leaned forward. Her eyes locked on Vexthal's alien gaze. You offer us protection, but we have learned that freedom is worth more than safety. You offer us guidance, but we have learned that our mistakes teach us more than someone else's wisdom. You offer us a place in your collective, but we have learned that our identity matters more than our survival. So no, we are not special, but we are human. And humans do not kneel. For a long moment, Vexthal was silent. His colors cycled through patterns Sarah could not interpret. When he finally spoke, his mental voice carried something new. Not anger. Not amusement. Something closer to sadness. Then you choose extinction. We will give you 30 days to reconsider. After that, the quarantine will begin. Your species will never leave your solar system. In a few generations, you will be forgotten. This is your choice, Captain Chen. I hope your pride is worth the price. The screen went dark. The alien ship vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, folding back into whatever impossible space it had emerged from. Sarah stood in the silent bridge, surrounded by her crew, feeling the weight of what had just happened. She had refused the aliens. She had condemned humanity to isolation. She had chosen freedom over survival. Captain, Marcus said softly. What have we done? Sarah turned to face her crew. She saw fear in their eyes. She saw doubt. But she also saw something else. She saw determination. She saw the same fire that had driven their ancestors to cross oceans, to climb mountains, to reach for the moon. We have made our choice, she said firmly. Now we live with it. Send a full report to Earth. Include everything. Let them decide if we made the right call. The report reached Earth within days. President Morrison read it 3 times, each time feeling the weight grow heavier on his shoulders. The military assessment was clear. Humanity could not win a war against the collective. The diplomatic assessment was equally clear. The collective would not negotiate in good faith. The choice was binary. Submit or resist. Surrender or fight. Morrison called for a vote. Every representative in the United Earth government cast their decision. The count was close, far closer than anyone had expected. Fear ran deep. Survival was a powerful argument. But in the end, the vote went in favor of resistance. General Hunt immediately began preparations. If humanity had only 30 days before quarantine, then they had 30 days to show the collective that humans were not so easily contained. He gathered his best tactical minds. He pulled every scientist who had studied the alien signals. He assembled plans that ranged from desperate to insane. What cannot beat them in direct combat? He told his staff. So we do not fight directly. We fight smart. We fight human. The strategy they developed was based on one key assumption. The collective had never faced serious resistance. 600 species had integrated into their empire. That meant 600 victories. That meant patterns. That meant predictability. Humans would not be predictable. Earth's shipyards worked without rest. Every civilian vessel that could be modified received weapons. Every military ship received upgrades. Mines were manufactured by the millions and seeded throughout the outer solar system. Defense platforms were built around every human settlement. Evacuation plans were prepared for every colony. And a special project began in secret, hidden in the darkness beyond Neptune. Dr. Rodriguez led the effort personally. She had studied the alien communication technology. She had analyzed every signal, every pattern. She believed she had found something. A weakness. A vulnerability. A way to hurt the collective in a way they would never expect. The 30 days passed quickly. Too quickly. Sarah and the Horizon's Edge remained at their station, monitoring for any sign of the returning aliens. When the deadline arrived, the collective did not disappoint. The space around Earth's solar system suddenly filled with ships. Not just one vessel like before. Dozens. Hundreds. They appeared simultaneously, surrounding human space in a perfect sphere. Each ship was massive, dwarfing even Earth's largest warships. They did not attack. They simply waited, their presence a statement of overwhelming power. Vexthal's message appeared on every screen in human space. Your 30 days have expired. You had your chance to join the collective peacefully. Now you will experience the consequences of your choice. The quarantine begins now. The alien ships activated some kind of energy field. Sensors showed it spreading from ship to ship, creating a web that enclosed the entire solar system. Human ships that tried to cross the barrier found their engines failing. Their systems shutting down. The cage had been built. Humanity was trapped. On Earth, people watched in horror. This was it. This was the end of human expansion. They would never reach new stars. They would never explore new worlds. They would be prisoners in their own home, slowly dying as resources ran out and hope faded. But General Hunt smiled grimly as he watched the alien ships settle into their positions. The collective had done exactly what he expected. They had surrounded humanity. They had created a barrier. They had put themselves in fixed, predictable positions. They had made themselves targets. Dr. Rodriguez, he said into his comm, execute Operation Prometheus. In the darkness beyond Neptune, the secret project activated. 36 modified ships, barely larger than shuttles, their hulls painted black to absorb all light, their engines cold to avoid detection. They had been waiting here for weeks, hidden in the cosmic noise of the outer system. Now they moved, not toward the alien ships, but toward the alien barrier itself. Each small ship carried Dr. Rodriguez's special cargo, a device she had built based on alien technology, modified by human understanding, weaponized by human necessity. The devices were delivered to key points along the barrier. The alien ships did not notice. They were watching inward, toward Earth, waiting for humanity to break. They did not think to watch their own perimeter. The devices activated simultaneously. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The alien barrier, that impossible energy field holding humanity prisoner, began to fluctuate. Waves of disruption spread through its structure. The alien ships tried to compensate, pouring more power into the barrier. But that only made things worse. Dr. Rodriguez had found the flaw. The collective's technology was incredibly advanced, but it relied on perfect coordination. Every ship in the barrier network had to work in exact synchronization. The devices she had created introduced chaos into that perfection. They created feedback loops. They made the ships fight against each other, instead of working together. The barrier collapsed. In less than 5 minutes, the energy field that was supposed to trap humanity for generations simply fell apart. The alien ships found themselves suddenly exposed, their perfect formation disrupted, their coordination broken. General Hunt did not waste the opportunity. All forces, he broadcast, strike now. Human ships that had been hiding in the shadow of moons and planets suddenly activated. Missiles launched from concealed positions throughout the system. The minefield in the outer system came alive. Defense platforms opened fire from every settlement. It was not a fair fight. Humanity was still vastly outnumbered. But for the first time, the fight was not completely one-sided. Alien ships took damage. Their shields, designed to stop energy weapons, proved vulnerable to the crude, but effective human missiles. Their hulls, built to withstand cosmic radiation, cracked under concentrated fire from multiple angles. The collective had technological superiority, but humanity had desperation, creativity, and the willingness to fight with every dirty trick they could devise. Aboard his command ship, Vexthal watched in disbelief as his carefully planned quarantine fell apart. How is this possible? He demanded. They are primitives. They should not be capable of this. His tactical officer's colors showed distress. Coordinator, they have somehow corrupted our barrier network. They are using irregular tactics. They are not following standard warfare protocols. Vexthal's scales flushed with anger. There are no irregular tactics. There is only success or failure. Adapt and overcome. But the collective forces could not adapt. They had 7,000 years of experience conquering species that accepted the rules of civilized warfare. They had no experience with an enemy that refused to fight fair. Humans struck from hiding. They used the terrain of their own solar system like a weapon. They sacrificed small ships to damage large ones. They did not cluster their forces for protection. They spread out to become harder targets. They broke every rule of engagement that the collective considered standard. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it finally ended, the alien fleet withdrew to regroup. The quarantine had failed. Humanity remained free. But the price had been terrible. Earth had lost 40% of its military fleet. Mars' orbital defenses were devastated. Thousands of humans were dead. The survivors looked at the cost and wondered if freedom was truly worth this price. General Hunt addressed the fleet. His voice broadcast to every surviving ship and station. Today we proved something important. We proved that the collective can be hurt. They are not invincible. They are not unstoppable. They have technology, yes. They have numbers, yes. But we have something they do not. We have the will to fight for our freedom, no matter the cost. He paused, letting his words sink in. This is not over. They will come back. They will come with more ships and new strategies. But we will be ready. Because we are human. And humans never surrender. On the horizon's edge, Sarah Chen watched the aftermath of the battle. Her ship had survived. Her crew was safe. But she knew this was only the beginning. The collective would not accept this defeat. They would return stronger. The real war was yet to come. She thought about Vexthal's words. Your pride will be worth the price. Maybe he was right. Maybe humanity's refusal to kneel would cost them everything. But as she looked at her crew, at the determination in their eyes, she knew they had made the only choice they could. Freedom was not something you could surrender and hope to reclaim later. Once given up, it was gone forever. Marcus, she said, send a message to all human settlements. Tell them what happened here. Tell them we fought and we survived. Tell them the war has begun. But humanity stands unbroken. As the message went out across the solar system, carrying hope and defiance in equal measure, Sarah wondered what would come next. The collective had threatened isolation and extinction. Humanity had responded with fire and blood. Now both sides would learn what it truly meant to fight a war where neither side would bend. The negotiation had failed. Now the real test would begin.